G'day guys, Dos here, and today it's a very special episode of the N70 Hilux project. We've done 10 episodes and 10 modifications, some of them a little bit questionable, but 10 nonetheless. And I've been getting boatloads of messages from you guys asking how they're holding up, and if they're standing the test of time, and if some of them are still working. Today we're going to have a look at all the products we've installed, and see which ones are worth spending your hard-earned money on, and see which ones might be worth giving a miss, if any. So, without any further ado, let's get into it guys, and let's check out how that Hilux looks now. Righto guys, now I'm pretty sure the first modification we actually did was we painted the whole interior of the car. So the car was originally an old mine ute, so it was filthy inside. So we ripped out pretty much all the plastics you can rip out and painted them outside the car. We used 8 to 10 cans of this stuff here, and it worked a treat. We painted the hood lining while it was still in the car because it just wasn't really worth taking it out. So the interior spray job is the #1 question I get asked about online. From doing up this car, and I can tell you it's lasted pretty good. The only places it's really scuffed off is my door card's a little bit broken and it pops in and out, and the paint did not take that kind of flex. It's popped off as the plastic pops in and out, so there's not much you can do about that. Well, you can fix the door card or get a new one and that'll fix it. So as long as your car's not broken there, it should be sweet. But the other place it's come off is where I scuff my boots. I wear steel cap boots for a living, so it's come off on the door cards, as you can see here, and a little bit up under the dash there where I rub it, put my foot on the clutch. So if you don't wear boots and you drive an auto, probably be sweet for you. Everything else is as I've painted it, being a little bit dusty, but yeah, awesome mod for the money, highly recommend it. Righto, what's the next one? Second modification we did to the car was a dual battery system. I knew there was a lot of stuff I wanted to run, and a lot more mods I wanted to do to this thing, so dual batteries was a must. I might even throw a third one in one day, but we've got 2 for now, and this is how I set it up. Bought a Vonnie's kit off eBay. It was actually the cheapest and Australian made, so that's awesome to see. Shout out to them. It's been a great product so far, no complaints at all. I might have had some issues installing it, but not their fault. And a King's isolator. Now, King's is a bit, you know, if anyone's used them, they'll know what I'm talking about. They're cheap and you get what you pay for. I mean, this isolator, it works a treat, but the LED light on it's never worked, but you know, it's charging the batteries, and I can tell that from a little mod later down on this list. But everything seems to work as it should. It's been working for a couple of months now, 3 or 4 months, and I've had no issues at all with the mounting tray or the King's isolator, well, except for that LED light I've mentioned. So this is what the products look like, and yeah, definitely Bonnie's. Australian made, help them out. Alright, let's jump onto the next thing straight away. Right, so the next modification we done is we banged an alloy radiator in that old Hilux, because I was working on mine one day and the top of it just clean snapped off. So unlucky for me, but I happen to have an alloy one sitting there because I know sometimes Hiluxes have overheating problems. So we threw that one in without too many dramas, and it ended up sweet. I've had no dramas with it. It runs similar temperature. Obviously, if you watch the video, you see some of the bolt holes don't line up quite how they should, but it was a $200 eBay radiator. What are you going to do? Anyone following the series will know episode 4, I smashed a lot of content into only about 5 minutes. It was 24 hours work, and I didn't film a lot of it. It was a little montage of me painting the truck, and a heap of little other modifications we'd done along the way that tied in with that. I was away for the weekend. It's when the radiator broke, the alternator went, I was having heaps of drama, so I had some time to kill. I was out of town, so I thought, hey, why not paint the car? I had the stuff with me. What we'd done, I'd already changed the tub, so I was running a different colour tub, so it looked a bit silly. Paint was coming up, but it just got pushed forwards. So what we did, we debadged the car. We took pretty much everything off that you can. The weather strips off the doors, I had some new ones of them to go on as well. They don't fit great. I still haven't got around to making them fit better. But other than debadge it, sanded it down, taped everything up, pulled the flares off, they ended up going in the bin, painted the whole car in etch primer, then we went over it with a couple of coats of high build machinery olive green, that's what the car's painted, and banged the new flares on it, did some blackouts along the doors. We ended up painting the roof as well. I'll touch on the tub liner we used for that a little bit later. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, as you can see, the weather shields, they don't fit great. They fit, they were cheap, you can't see through them. That's definitely something to be mindful of. I didn't realise that when I bought them off eBay, but they were cheap. They were about this much. One of the main differences, other than painting the car, you'll notice, is we've installed 100mm cut snake flares. So that's 100mm either side. It'll be wider than a standard SR with no flares. Mine did have flares, but nonetheless, it's a lot wider now. I ended up having to go and get new rims to combat that because it just looked silly. I knew I was going to have to, but it really pushed me to that. So I've changed to a -25 rim. I've kept the same tyres, which are this. But yeah, that's given it that nice aggressive stance I was chasing, and exactly what I was looking for. I did want to go 33s, but I've had a lot of people tell me they'll rip the flares straight off, so we're sticking with these tyres for now. Maybe we'll do some trimming next time. The olive green paint's taken a fair beating by now, but the fact that it actually is a 2-pack high build machinery paint means that that's what it's made for. It's made to take a bit of a beating, and it's cheap if you ever need to touch it up. I only used just over 2.5 litres to paint the whole car, so later on when I banged the canopy on, I still had plenty of paint. Right, I think I've pretty much covered everything in there. If you've got any questions, throw it in the comments, and I'll try and answer it as best as I can on this painting one or anything else on this video. Alright, what was the next thing we done? Episode 5 was the first one that was a little bit wanky. I was just scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, seen a sub and amp combo and thought, I need that. I need that in my car for reasons. So, that's what we did. $70 odd in sub amp, got some wiring with it. Had to buy a couple more bits, but it's pretty cheap overall, full Kenwood. So we got it wired up. The sub box was a little bit big, so we spent the time and cut it down so it fit in nice and neat between the center console and the back seat. I would have liked to have mounted it behind, but you know, it definitely didn't fit. It was a huge sub. The good thing about this video, if you're thinking about mounting stuff behind your back seat, you can actually go in here onto the proper video and I show you how big of a piece of ply to make to fit in behind the back seats neat. So you can mount stuff to it without screwing holes through the back wall of your cab, which you definitely don't want to do. Anyway, I love this thing. It pumps. It's reminiscent of turning 17 and getting your license and going out with your friends. It's definitely a little bit wanky, but I love the thing nonetheless. It doesn't take up too much room. I'd say if you want a sub and you can't afford a set of slimline kickers, don't cheap out and get cheap slimline subs. They're crap. Just bang a cheap 12-inch on the back seat floor. You won't go wrong. Alright, let's see what we got. It is one of my favourites. It's where we installed a couple of voltmeters, one for the main battery and one for the secondary battery, and a switch panel between them. We mounted them where there's a little dicky panel between sort of the dash and the center console meets up behind the shifter. It's got a couple of switches in it, cigarette lighter, stuff you don't really use nowadays anyway. Might be the rear demister, but you don't really want that on if you've got tint anyway. You don't need to see the back window. Anyway, we pulled that out, stenciled it out, and made it out of some easily obtainable cheap materials. The whole project cost like 20 bucks, and there was no flash tools. The flashiest thing I probably used was like a solderer, and soldering's easy. If you don't know, just have a crack at it. I'm sure there's plenty of tutorials out there on how to use a solder, and that's the most technical thing I think we used. Might have used a grinder and a jigsaw, but all that sort of stuff you could do with hand tools if you didn't have it. It's an awesome mod, and it's one of my favourites because it's so simple. Next thing we're going to have a chat about is the bed liner, tub liner, whatever you want to call it. I put a fair bit of it on this car. This stuff's actually a duplicate colour, I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'll throw up a picture here. But it's cheap, it's affordable, it's polyurethane based. Years ago I actually painted a whole 4Runner with this, and it was rubbed up against trees and done heaps of things you shouldn't do with a car, and it still looks great. I mean, the panel's tinted, but the paint was still good. So it's relatively easy to use. You can roll it and brush it on. I did on the 4Runner, but it does look a lot better if you spray it. So depends what you're into. Maybe not so much for the amateur apply. You will need a compressor and a gun to put it on well. If you're doing the inside of a tub, you can certainly brush it on. And probably the best thing of all, it's maybe 120 bucks, 130 bucks for a gallon, for like 3.5 litres, somewhere in there. And it wears good. Like that 4Runner sat in the sun for a year and it was still good. This stuff's holding up great. Obviously it's taken a bit of a beating on my car. I lost a little bit of paint where I was sliding a big toolbox in and out of the tray, but I can't complain with it. For the money, I don't think you can go wrong. I'll be using it again. Alright, the one you guys have messaged me a fair bit about is the pillar pod gauges. I've run all SAS gear, so it's a SAS pod with 3 SAS gauges. We've got the boost, the EGT, and I went with water temp. If it was a race car, I would have went with oil temp or oil pressure. Definitely more critical and something like that. But if you're in a four-wheel drive, if you're out on the trail or up on the tracks, all that slow movement's not pushing plenty of air through, and sometimes your water can get hot. So that's definitely something I want to know about. It's something I've had issues with in older model Hiluxes myself. So that was something I wanted to be able to keep an eye on. The EGT, that's definitely something you should have in any turbo diesel car. Because even though the water temperature might say the car's good, you could be doing some serious damage to that engine if that temperature's getting hot enough inside, and it's going to take ages before it reads on the water temp gauge. It might have even come up, spiked, and gone back down. So the best place you can have your probe is in the manifold. I've got it in the exhaust because it's a hell of a lot easier. So you'll just have to adjust your calculations by a couple hundred degrees, because that's going to be what the difference is, either side of the turbo. But these things are all working great. Same as when I got them. SAS is definitely one of the cheaper brands. I think the whole setup was about 350 bucks. It's certainly something you could do by yourself. Soldering is probably the trickiest thing in the install, so really easy. I think anyone could do it, and it's great to have that certainty and to be able to know what your car's doing at any point in time with the references given from those gauges. It was a bit rusty when I got it. If you follow the channel, you know it was a minute. It's seen some stuff. But the bull bar was also rusty. But I was lucky enough, when I bought the car, old mate threw in a commercial bar. It had a deluxe on it, both ARB, but just slightly different models. I think the deluxe looks better, but let me know what you think's better anyway. So I wasn't forking out the money for a new bar when I had one there. I thought I'll just pull the bar off, put the commercial on, but hey, while it's off, why not install a new winch? And it's important to put, if you're going to be driving through long grass seeds, it's really important to put some fly screen or something between the radiator and the grill. So I did that at the same time. If you want to know more, check out the video, but essentially we dropped everything off, pulled the lights off, pulled the winch out, the winch controller, the infill panels near the headlights, installed them all on the new bull bar, went to lift it up, and it mounts differently. I had a lot of head scratching trying to figure it out, and in the end I had to call ARB and they confirmed that it's a different mounting kit and it costs a shitload of money. So the old deluxe bar went back on after a quick paint job, and I changed everything back over to that bull bar. Yeah, I was pretty annoyed about it as well. We got the new winch in, we got all the stuff wired back up, but I can't give you an honest review on the Ridge Rider winch yet. Ridge Rider winch yet. They do have awesome reviews for a budget winch. I mean, it's no Warn, but it's definitely better than some of those other cheaper brands you're going to get out there from what I've read anyway. But like I said, I haven't used it in anger. I have used it a few times and it seems to work a treat. If you want any more information on it, have a look on the Supercheap website or check out the original video. There's plenty of info on there as well. You've probably noticed I've left this one to last. It's definitely the wankiest mod I've done so far, but I absolutely love it. It's the RGB rock lights. As you would have seen from all the photos and the videos and stuff I share of the Hilux, it's got a boatload of them on there. So if you watch the original video, I do explain that if you buy the kits, there's definitely no way you're going to do a Hilux, let alone probably a Falcon with them. The wires aren't long enough. You'd be pushing it to do a key car or something out of Japan that's tiny. So instead of buying wire extensions or trying to rewire them, they are cheap enough to just buy a second kit and wire them in parallel. These ones are controlled by a Bluetooth app, which is a bit shit, to be honest. So maybe better off getting ones with the remote. I don't know, I haven't tried those ones yet. I'm sort of committed to Bluetooth now. Anyway, they're cheap enough. You could go out and spend a lot of money trying to install them nice and neat and get special brackets and stuff for them, but I found like 95% brackets from Bunnings and just zip tied them to the chassis rail. And it's been, I don't know, 3 or 4 months since I originally installed them, and no dramas at all. I might swap the zip ties out when I do a service for new ones, maybe heavy duty ones. Maybe I'll just leave them. For the kind of money, they're cheap as. Obviously you could go out and buy really good brand ones. I didn't. That's not what this build is about. It's certainly a budget build. And I think they've come up a treat. I really like them. Some people might hate on them a little bit. I see a fair few of them getting around on the road now, which very illegal in Queensland, but go for it. I think they look sick. Anyway, if you've got them, in fact, find me on Facebook. You'll find me on Aussie Dos on Facebook, and send me a picture or a video of yours going. I love the things. Doesn't matter if it's on a Hilux or not. I just think they're cool. Anyway, guys, that's it for the video. That's the top 10-ish mods we done in the first 10 videos. That's for sure. It was 10 videos, and we've done 10 lots of things. So that's a quick review on them. If you've got any questions, hit me up, leave a comment. If you like the video, hit like. It lets the YouTube algorithm people, algorithm, it lets them know that you like my videos and you wouldn't mind seeing more of them. And if you do like them, if you could hit subscribe, that'd really help me out. That'd help me get towards the goal of, being able to make more videos for you guys. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.